Welcome back to the Unfortunate Diehards podcast. Hashtag number 80. Pierre-Luc
Dubois. I was going to say it either way.
Was going to kill me.
I was going to say it regardless of what you said.
But welcome back to the podcast, everyone. My name's Evan. I'm an Ottawa Senators fan.
I'm Omar. I'm the Leafs fan.
I'm Sufyan. I'm a Caps fan.
We have a halfway point episode for you today. Woo!
Mid-season awards.
So, let's go over a few things first, and then we'll get her kicked off. Sufi, what's on our menu this evening?
Well, Omar's going to give us a standings update first.
All right. Let's see where we're at today. Let's start with the Western Conference. We've got in the Central Winnipeg, Minnesota, and Dallas with the top three. In the Pacific, Vegas, Edmonton, and Los Angeles with the top three. Filling out our wild card are Colorado and Calgary, and then from then on, Vancouver, St. Louis, Utah, Anaheim, Seattle, Nashville, San Jose, and Chicago. All right, and the Eastern Conference in the Atlantic, we've got the Toronto Maple Leafs, the Florida Panthers, and the Tampa Bay Lightning. In the Metro, we've got the Washington Capitals, New Jersey Devils, Carolina Hurricanes. Wild cards are the Boston Bruins and the Columbus Blue Jackets, and then filling it out after them, the Ottawa Senators, Montreal, Detroit, Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, New York Rangers, the Islanders, and the Buffalo Sabres.
Nice. Both wild card races are very good, actually. Well, for the Western Conference, it's 3 teams. For the Eastern Conference, it's like a million.
Oh, the Eastern Conference wildcard race is actually amazing this year.
Yeah. Yep. Well, not much to say on that anymore, so let's just get on to what we're going to do. Majority of this episode, which is the preseason awards. Oh my goodness. The mid-season awards. So we're going to go through the Hart Trophy, the Norris Trophy, Vezina Trophy, Selke Trophy, Calder Trophy, Jack Adams Award, and then we've made up an award called the Most Improved Player. So yeah, let's start with the Hart. We'll go through, we'll do our honorable mentions first, and then we'll go, Omer says his third, I say my third, Evan says his third, and 2-1, and then we'll talk about it after. Let's start with the Hart, and Omer, who is your honorable mention for the Hart Trophy? We'll talk about it after, so just say the player's name first.
My honorable mention for the Hart Trophy is Kirill Kaprizov.
Evan?
Same.
I'm starting off on it here. My honorable mention is Nathan MacKinnon.
All right. So in third ranking for the Hart, I've got Leon Draisaitl.
My third ranking for the Hart Trophy is Nathan MacKinnon.
My third ranking is Nikita Kucherov.
My second is Nathan MacKinnon.
My second is Zach Werenski.
Damn. My second is Connor Hellebuyck.
And my first is Connor Hellebuyck.
My first is Connor Hellebuyck.
My first is Leon Draisaitl. So we had a couple of interesting things in there. I'll start. My honorable mention being McKinnon is pretty much just, so he's on my fantasy team, so it's kind of feels kind of blasphemous saying about this, like in my one of my leagues, but he has 12 empty net points, and I feel like in past years we've discounted players on that basis for whatever reason, and if I'm going by that, I have him there. And then my philosophy for Kucherov, he's tied for first in 5-on-5 points, and then he leads the league in primary assists. Hellebuyck is having pretty much the best goaltending season we've seen since Price and Shesterkin. And whenever that happens, I feel like those goalies always get mentioned in the Hart Trophy finalists, at least within the top 3. And then Draisaitl, all the stats just line up for me. First in 5-on-5 points, second in 5-on-5 goals. He has a 61.99 expected goals for at 5-5, and he only has 3 empty net points compared to McKinnon's 12. And on top of that, he's not playing on a line with McDavid this year. Most of his points are at even strength. So yeah, I think everything that I've seen from him, the improved defensive play also helps. I don't know. I think Leon is definitely my MVP so far.
I'd say for me, Kaprizov as an honorable mention. I think he could have very easily been in the top three. I think it's just because he's been injured for a little bit. So, not to say that should hold him back, but I think he's missed about 3 weeks or something. I don't know. So I guess he's kind of fallen a bit under the radar because of the injury. I mean, when he comes back, or if he's back already, I'm not sure. He'll probably be right back in it. I would say. I thought about putting Draisaitl higher. I have him third. I did put McKinnon over him, which you could like. Hellebuck for me is a clear number one right now, just because of I don't know how you can argue it. But yeah, I'm not successfully.
To you, fair enough.
McKinnon I put second this year because he does have empty net points. The thing with him though is that he's not. This year, he's not on that like crazy dominant Colorado team. Like he's on a team that's I think in a wild card right now, and could are a few bad games away from kind of being in very in the thick of it in a wild card race. So I think him performing the way he's performing is very important. I think he has over like 65 points at this point in like 40 games or whatever it is. Draisaitl has been insane though this year, so he had to be in the top three. I did just give McKinnon the edge.
I feel like you guys have already touched on a lot of them, so I'll just talk about Zach Werenski. I think Columbus being one of the bigger surprise teams so far, and he's just had such a dominant season as a defenseman, as their best player. Like, yes, Marchenko and Voronkov and Monahan are all doing well, but like, I feel like Werenski's on like a whole nother level than any of them, and I think looking at it as the most valuable player, he's the most valuable, or one of the most valuable players to his individual team right now.
That's the same discussion we always have, and I hate it because valuable to his team is not what this award is. But I mean, if you're going to go off that basis, then it is fair enough. Anyways,
well, it's definitely if you're.
But then I could say like Hellebuck, like. The Jets, if they had average goaltending, still could make the playoffs.
I don't necessarily. Well, they could make the playoffs, sure, yeah, but
it's to that team because they're so good that they're doing so well. So he's more valuable.
But the more valuable thing is like, what we do this thing where if this player was on this team or if this player was on that team. That's why MVP is pretty much just the best player. It's not necessarily just most valuable to his team, because Zach Werenski, whatever team he's on, would he be still in the same position? Is like, it's a tough wording for this award, because when you're talking about most valuable, it's very dependent on where their situation in that season. So how you interpret like McDavid, Draisaitl, McKinnon, Kucherov, like we see these players every year do what they're doing, and then when someone like Werenski comes in and is having the season that he's having on a bad team, it's different, and it's impressive to see from a guy on a bad team. So I get where you're coming from on that.
A playoff team as of right now.
Yeah. But if I'm saying most valuable, then I would say that for me, Leon Draisaitl is more valuable than Zach Werenski.
I would say if Columbus makes the playoffs, how is he not the most valuable? Like, I mean,
well, that's you could do that every year with a team that's squeezing the playoffs, and then you just pick their best player.
Not necessarily, because
more times than not.
I mean, a lot of teams will get in because like. When the New York Islanders make it, they generally don't have some 90-point guy or something, generally, or even when like a team like generally before this, when Columbus has made it in the Tortorella year, like, did they really have that crazy 90, 100-point guy?
Panarin.
Anyway, so like in this case,
Yes.
sure, Columbus may have, but anyway, like Islanders, there must be a couple of other examples I can't think of, but a team like this who has a player that's performing at that kind of level, that it's hard to not give it to them if they're like at that level. You know what I mean? Like,
But that's what I'm saying. It's very situation based. Because then if you were basing off that, then it would just hurt the players that are on good teams. Because then if Leon Draisaitl was on Columbus and he was performing the exact same way, then we'd have the same discussion. But I'd be more on your side.
Yeah, but isn't that like what this award should be?
This award should be given to the most valuable player, not most valuable player to his team. It's never been given like that.
Then where are you getting the value from?
Yeah, where are you getting the value from? That's what I'm asking, because it's like
how they've actually performed individually.
If Team Canada was in the NHL, and then there was Team Slovenia, by technicality, Anze Kopitar is the most valuable player in the league because he's the best player on his team and would be the only reason they do well. And if he's having an otherworldly season, like comparatively on that Team Canada or whatever we want to say, like each player wouldn't be as valuable to the team. If that makes sense.
But that's hard to gauge because then you're saying that like that's a very extreme example. If you're talking like it's if you're looking at Draisaitl and you're saying that I'm going to discount him because he's playing on Edmonton, which he's not playing with McDavid all the time, but I get what you're saying that he's on a better team. It becomes a thing where you have to gauge like how much an individual player has attributed to the situation that they're actually in. But how am I going to say that about Draisaitl if he's not going to have the chance to do it on a bad team?
It's not that he doesn't have a chance.
Edmonton is a bad team.
Like, no, it's like if you've got a player that's performing at a similar level to a player that is on a good team, like a superstar on a good team.
But that's my point. I don't see it as a similar level. I see it as Draisaitl is performing significantly better than everyone else right now.
Yeah, he's performing really well, but like
if we kept everyone at this exact same level of a team, I would have Draisaitl rank higher than Gretzky.
But Suvi, you could also like spin your empty net stat too. He's on the ice late in the game when it's close, and he doesn't get scored on. He's getting points still in those like clutch times. Like there's teams that get scored on way more when they have like the other team has the goalie pulled, and so I see what you mean. Like they might be inflated in easier chances to score, but also he's out on the ice in situations where they need to win.
I mean, the thing is, like, I could say that about Draisaitl too. It's not like he isn't put in those situations and doesn't like thrive in those situations. It's just that when the empty net points reach that level, that's where I discount it. I'm like, if it was 5 or 6, then I would probably have McKinnon in my top 3. But we're talking about a 12-point difference between his total and not having that. Like if you have the same empty net points as Draisaitl, then it would be like their points would be pretty much exactly the same. And for me, what Draisaitl's doing at 5-on-5 this year is more impressive than what I've seen from other players.
Yeah, I mean he's a monster this year, which is very true. And
I mean, like we can go. We're gonna go circles on this argument because I necessarily agree with how you guys determine your interpret the MVP award. That's essentially it.
But this argument is an argument every year with the MVP award. I find like we can go back to the year Matthews won it when people were saying Shesterkin should have got it. Right? It's the same thing. Was it Shesterkin? Yeah, it was Shesterkin. People were saying that should have got it. It's the same thing, right? Like which one performed better?
And that's the thing. Those two are on good too. They're both on good teams. The only reason I would say Shesterkin over Matthews is because for me he was a better player that year than Matthews, not because of what situation they were in.
Yeah, but the situation impacts what they're doing.
That's always the case, though. But like, I'm not going to. But that's what I'm saying. Like that's exactly what I'm saying. Because like, since
Okay.
players can't actually determine where they're playing, like it's impossible for me to gauge how they would do in different situations. So I just have to see it at face value and like determine whether they are actually the best player or they're just good because they're on such a bad team.
All right, let's not have this argument again and move on.
This is the exact same discussion that we would be having.
Before to spin it in Sufi's favor, the other argument you could have is if you put Leon Draisaitl on Columbus, he'd probably do the same thing.
I did say that because, and that's why I'm saying that's a bigger argument this year is because he's doing it so much away from the reason that they discounted him in the past is because of McDavid, because of power play. Everything is completely different in that regard this year, and he's playing amazing defensively. So let's move on to Norris Trophy. And Evan, you can start this one. Who's your honorable mention?
My honorable mention is a bit of a stretch, but I just like to see him thrive as a number one defenseman on a team. Mikhail Sergachev.
Interesting.
Okay.
I just felt bad and like to see that he's healthy and doing well on a bad team.
My honorable mention is... Oh, is it you? Sorry, you.
No, you go.
My honorable mention is Josh Morrissey.
My honorable mention is Rasmus Dahlin. Evan, your third?
My third is Quinn Hughes.
My third is Cale Makar.
My third is Zach Werenski.
My second is Cale Makar.
My second is Zach Werenski.
My second is Makar.
And my first, my boy, the guy that Sufi took in fantasy that I should have, Zach Werenski.
Mine is Quinn Hughes.
Mine's Quinn Hughes. I mean, if you're going to have him in your MVP top three, I mean, this is kind of expected. But why Makar over Hughes, Evan?
I just think he's a more well-rounded player. And although Hughes does use his skating, they're both phenomenal skaters, but he uses his skating ability kind of to his defensive, skill as well, but I don't know. I just think Makar is slightly...
Evan, you got to keep your argument consistent here. Quinn Hughes deserves this.
My thing with this award is like it always ends up being a more offensive defenseman, but the problem with these three actual defensemen is none of them are good defensively. Makar has been bad defensively this year. Werenski's been bad defensively this year, but you have to make up for it on offense. Columbus needs what they need, I guess. And somehow Quinn Hughes has graded out the best out of the three of them defensively. Now, what does that mean for them? I don't know. He's just been on the ice more when they've scored versus when they've been scored on. Hasn't been the same for the other two. But then he's also got tied for the most in 5-on-5 goals with Werenski, and then he has the second most 5-on-5 points as well. So I don't know. Hughes has just been super impressive this year. It's very reminiscent to last year, but the difference is, I think, with all that's gone on in Vancouver too, with him playing the way he's playing, it's kind of cool to see him shut out the distractions and play pretty much exactly the same as last year.
He's been insane. Second in points. I would say he deserves the Norris vote right now because obviously his production, his defensive play, but him being able to do that, like Sophie said, with all the distractions, like no Demko, no JT Miller for a while, JT Miller and Patterson issues, and the ups and downs that the Canucks are dealing with this year, and he's just been Quinn Hughes. He's captain. He's been the leader, and
he has
shown it.
Sad faces.
Bro, he still looks depressed as hell all the whole time. Did you guys see the picture of him at the All-Star game where it's they're all sitting in the middle of the ice, and then you have Matthews and Marner having a good conversation. You have Kucherov and whoever having a good conversation, and Quinn Hughes just sat there with his head down like this. Like,
No, I haven't. I don't
bro,
remember if I've seen it.
it's
But
the
yeah.
funniest thing, man. And like, I don't know. I think me saying that as an argument would kind of be going back on what I was saying for the MVP. But for me, Hughes is like just has been the best defenseman this year. But my thing for Dahlin is like seeing him play. Like when I watch him against the Caps, it's like weird that he doesn't get more recognition, even though I feel like he should. Like he feels as dominant as someone like Werenski, Makar, Hughes so far this year, but I don't know, Buffalo, it's hard to do anything on Buffalo, so I guess that's why all you see from Buffalo is just bad. But his numbers are just as impressive as in the past. Maybe he's not scoring goals as much as he did in like his 20-goal year, but everything else grades out pretty well for him. And Josh Morrissey, I think, points-wise, it's just like he could be easily in his top 3, but he's just, I don't know.
Yeah, he doesn't quite crack the top 3 right now, but he's been great. I think he deserved an honorable mention.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sergachev was interesting. When I was doing the research for this, I didn't realize how good he was doing this year, honestly. And he only played like 17 games last year.
I know.
Or whatever it was. Let's move on to Vezina. This one is going to be interesting. I think everyone's going to have the same one, obviously, but everything else is pretty out there. So I'll start this one. My honorable mention, weirdly enough, is Darcy Kemper.
What?
Interesting. My honorable mention is Anthony Stolarz.
Mine is Linus Ullmark. Go Sens.
We got the homer picks.
No, there's still one to come. My 3 is Logan Thompson.
My 3 is Mackenzie Blackwood.
My 3 is Lonnie Calvin.
Why do you hate giving my team? Do you see? This is exactly what we're saying when I don't chirp him and he chirps me. Idiot.
No, I chirp you on the podcast in a joking way.
My number 2 is Mackenzie Blackwood.
Your number 2, Evan? Oh no,
It's you.
It's you.
It's back to me. My number 2 is Darcy Kemper.
Mine is a bit of a hot take. I have him because I think he's made the biggest impact, or one of the biggest impacts as goalie. I'm going to say Markstrom, because they went from...
Say your explanations after. My 1 is Hellebuck.
My 1 is Hellebuck.
My 1 is Levi Marilainen.
Oh my god.
Joking, it's Hellebuck.
Alright, now go on your Markstrom spiel.
Markstrom, the Devils were out of the playoffs without him. They're like solidly in the playoffs with him. And that's the biggest factor.
I mean, yeah, Markstrom was definitely considered in this. He just didn't have like the high enough save percentage, but also that isn't really his fault because he doesn't really face as many shots as other goalies. He had 2 back-to-back 12 save shutouts in a row, which was hilarious.
Yeah, stupid.
But he makes the saves what he needs to. Kemper, when I was looking at stats, like the thing with these the fringe goalies like Thompson, Kemper, Ullmark, Stolarz, and some other goalies that I can't remember. They've only played like between like 15 to 25 games, so it's hard to decipher which one I should have up there. Stolarz I consider the most, but he just hasn't played enough. So like it just wouldn't be justifiable. But yeah, Kemper definitely impressive on LA. I discounted him a bit because of LA as a defensive team is one of the best in the league by far. Where Thompson, second in goals saved above expected, fourth in goals saved above average, .919 save percentage, tied for third, and his goal save above average per game is first. So I had to have him up there. Like I tried my best to set my biases aside, but it isn't just me saying this. It's all over Twitter. It's apparently with Evan. So Mackenzie Blackwood is crazy to me.
Yeah,
the fact that his stats before he got to Colorado and after he got to Colorado have just been amazing.
Yeah, no, Blackwood's been great. Yeah, Camper I put there because I mean he's having an unreal season. I know Ali has good defense, but like,
You know why he's been so good?
why
Because he didn't get a COVID vaccine.
did he actually not get one?
He was
wasn't
one of
allowed
the
to play in
guys.
Canada.
Uh,
Yeah, I love having that
then we
here.
all know. I mean, I don't think we need to get into Hellebuck that much. We know he's been insane, and he's the reason.
We should get into if Hellebuck was vaccinated, guys.
I mean, you have to be played in Canada.
Yeah.
I'm just joking.
Yeah.
I don't care.
This is the one
I was
that-
vaccinated.
All right, then. All right.
Sufi?
Yes, obviously. Okay,
What?
coming back
But you're
to
not in Canada.
basketball. It's the same rules here, apparently, at the time. Anyways, this is the one where I could see the most change from after Hellebuck. I mean, Hellebuck, I think, is pretty much already won it, unless he falls off a cliff. But also Philip Gustafson, I think, is another name that could definitely sneak into the top 3 for sure. He's definitely played himself into the conversation. So, a lot of former Ottawa goalies getting reps in Vezina voting lately. Just not as Ottawa Senators.
Yep.
But I mean, if Allmark comes back and his lights out, then who knows?
Ottawa is the Costco of goalies.
Oh
They
my
just
God.
wholesale every year. Goalies leave and go somewhere else. They sell wholesale for cheap.
I'm not going to agree with that. I don't like bullying Sets fans. Anyways, let's move on to the Calder. This one's going to be interesting as well. Who is your honorable mention, Omer?
Honorable mention for me is Dustin Wolf.
Evan?
Because the honorable mention doesn't matter, I'm picking Tyler Clevin.
Oh my God.
I think I'll explain after.
You don't have to. We know why you picked him.
Oh, because he's really good. I know.
Sure. My honorable mention is Matvey Michkov.
My third pick is Michkov.
Michkov.
My third pick is Celebrini.
My second is Hudson.
My second is Hudson.
My second is Hudson.
And my first is Celebrini.
Celebrini.
Dustin Wolf. All right, go on your Clevin spiel so we can move on.
He, with multiple different partners throughout the season, has had really good defensive stats. He also, as a defensive defenseman with size that hits, doesn't get the recognition for being a very competent NHL defenseman in his rookie season because he doesn't get points.
How much has he played with?
mention.
This is where I decide if I agree with you or not. How much has he played with Travis Hamonic?
Not at all.
Okay, then I disagree with you. If he played with Hamonic and he was playing well, if he was playing with Hamonic and he was playing well, then I give
Bernard
it to you.
Docker, Manta Paolo, and
Manta who?
I know, and someone
No.
else. I forgot who though.
Damn. All right,
He
fair
might have
enough.
played with Hamonic right at the beginning. I don't remember.
I just remember seeing something on Twitter of them being in practice. Maybe they didn't end up playing together. Anyways, you know what? Give it to you. It's a rookie. Who cares? Yeah, Dustin Wolf has been absolutely insane this year. With Calgary being in the playoffs and him being the outright starter, he's up there in goal saved above average. He has a 2.5 GA and 916 save percentage. And the most impressive stat for me, he's 5th in high danger save percentage with playing in Calgary and like being on a team that isn't necessarily that great. They're just average kind of throughout. And him coming in being a full-time starter in his rookie season is really impressive.
Yeah, Dustin Wolf was a big one for me to put in. However, I didn't because this is my personal thing that I don't like when players win it when they've played in the NHL before. So,
Like at all?
Yeah, like I don't like he's played like 17, 18, 19, 20 games, whatever it is in the NHL before. So why is he rookie of the year? I know he hasn't played a season, so he counts as a rookie.
It's
so
20. It's 25 games for the qualification.
Okay, so he's played like 17, 18 games, whatever it is. I'm pretty sure in the league. So like yes, he because he qualifies, he deserves to be nominated and potentially win. Sure, but like personal opinion, he shouldn't be because uh, a little advantage over the other guys who are coming in for the first time.
You know, hey, when you say your opinion is wrong, I'm saying that to you right now.
Well, he's played before. He's had.
Yeah, I mean, Lane Hudson played 10 games last year. He's second for you.
Yeah, but like he's not first.
All right. Anyways. Yeah, Hudson, 35 points among rookies. He's first. 29 assists as rookies. He's first. No one's going to talk about his defensive play right now, nor should they. I mean, if we don't talk about offensive defensemen's defensive player in their first year, and I think that's just a good understanding that we should have as hockey fans. We didn't do it for Quinn Hughes. We didn't do it for Erik Karlsson. Let's just keep it that way. But yeah, him coming in and being a very undersized individual and still being able to put up a ton of points. He's on pace for over 60 points in his rookie year is crazy. He's one of the players where you're in Montreal, you're getting a ton of hype. The fact that you're living up to it right now is impressive, and he's still getting a ton of hate, but because he's a Habs player and he's still performing adequately. Michkov couldn't be in my top three with how he's played in the last 20 games. Like, it's just, I don't know.
Bro's like second or third in scoring, isn't he?
And that's impressive, but he has 3 points in his last 14 games. My thing with rookies is it's very hard for them to be consistent. So the ones that are consistent, I hold at a higher standard. Right?
Ethan Frank.
3 points in 3 games. He might be at the end of the year. At 26 years old, I don't know.
Picking Ethan Frank up in fantasy.
He plays on the third line. I don't know how.
But just for a stretch of. But I don't think Washington played enough this week for me to warrant it. So
he could be good at it if it continues. Celebrini, I think, is going to end up winning it with 31 points in 33 games.
So with Celebrini, the reason he's first for me, I had Hudson above him, actually, to be honest. But then I switched it around. I put Celebrini first. Because Celebrini has missed a couple of weeks or so. He's missed like over 10 games.
Yeah.
And he's second to Hudson in scoring, not far away at all.
4 points.
Yeah, with a bunch of games less played. The thing with and the thing I don't want to take so Hudson is on a Montreal team, which is kind of challenging for that wild card spot. They're having a good season, so I think he's more just in the limelight a bit because of that. I think San Jose is just a bottom feeder, and Celebrini is doing great on it, but they have nowhere to go this year. So, but I think he's insane, so he deserves it.
Celebrini and Eklund together has been very nice. Together.
Eklund is very good.
The other thing is, for Calder, I tend to be more impressed by defensemen and goalies in their first year. I think that it's a tougher transition to the NHL than as a forward.
Not for Dustin Wolf. He's played a lot of games.
Apparently, more too many games for numbers. But yeah, I don't know. I think for me, Wolf is the front runner. Just being a full-time starter in your technical rookie year on a currently playoff team is the most impressive thing for me out of any of these. And yeah, let's move on to Selke. This one is going to be weird because I think we all have different ways of figuring out what defensive forwards mean. I look at advanced statistics. Evan does the eye test. Omer goes off vibes. We'll see how it is.
Who's starting?
Omer's like, who plays on the penalty kill? Let me pick them first. All right, Evan, you're first for this one.
All right, my honorable mention. Honestly, I didn't do a lot of research on this, so I'm going off of vibes on being Omer.
Vibes and reputation.
Sebastian Aho.
All right.
I feel like you've gone second a lot. Let me go second. My honorable mention is Anthony Cirelli.
My honorable mention is also Anthony Cirelli.
Oh, I'm agreeing with Omer. This feels wrong. All right, Evan.
My third, where is this? Is Mark Stone.
How many games has Marcus played this year? Enough?
I guess so.
My third is Nico Hischier.
My third is Anze Kopitar.
Oh,
That's a reputation pick.
Well, who's ready for another reputation pick?
Let's hear it. Oh, damn.
Well, I didn't hear it. You have to say it again.
Barkov.
Barkov, yeah.
My number 2 is Jordan Stahl.
My number 2 is also Barkov.
My number 1 is Nick Suzuki.
My number 1 is Sam Reinhart.
My number 1 is Sam Reinhart.
All right. So here's the thing, right? It's very hard to gauge defensive abilities, and this is why I just go into stats. And this is pretty much, in terms of advanced statistics, the best 4 defensive forwards according to those. Now, do I necessarily believe those wholeheartedly? No. But just based off what I know from these guys, it kind of lines up. And Sam Reinhart has apparently been the best defensive forward in hockey, regardless of his offensive abilities. So, which is why I had him at number 1.
Same here. I didn't look at that.
But I mean, like,
you though, but you know, I look at advanced stats.
The thing with Kopitar and Barkov and stuff is just I think their reputation holds a lot of value, and that's going to end up being.
Well, no, like Barkov is good. Barkov's also just
no. I'm just saying I'm not saying they're bad defensively. I'm just saying like because their reputation holds so much value based off how they played in the past defensively, even if they're not having a year defensively to their standard in the past, it's going to get them votes regardless.
Okay. Yeah.
It's not because
it's pretty undeniable at this point.
Yeah,
with what he does offensively, along with the penalty killing, and
yeah. I tried not to take any sort of offensive ability into consideration here.
Yeah.
But yeah, because this isn't necessarily defensive ability, right? Defensive ability, Barkov is probably first. This is strictly just based off how they played this season. Nick Suzuki is interesting. I feel like you see him a lot as a Sens fan.
They haven't played the Montreal Canadiens much this year.
Damn.
So, honestly, this was the one where I was like, I have no fucking idea. Because I haven't watched enough games. So I just wrote down 4 names, to be honest. And I feel like I heard a lot of good things about Nick Suzuki this year.
Yeah.
That not only has he been good offensively, like, good, that he has been very responsible as a captain of a Canadian team.
Yeah. I feel like with where Montreal's at right now, he's had to do a lot of carrying in pretty much every facet of the game. So it does make sense. Nico Hischier for me is like, he wasn't. He's Swiss. Yes. I don't know why I answered that like you were asking a question, but he wasn't necessarily like in the top 3 for the hockey stat cards one that I was looking at, but based off how much he plays and like the kind of matchups he gets as well, being a first line center, because yes, he plays on the first line where Jack Hughes is technically on the second line, but I guess that's 1A, 1B. He draws like the toughest defensive matchups, where he plays against the best lines in the league, and with what he's doing this year, I think is pretty impressive. So, Cirelli, I don't know. The thing is, Anthony Cirelli is such like a meh player to me, but apparently he's just absolutely insane defensively. So
yeah,
so much so that he was considered for Team Canada, and I was not very happy with that. But
he's on it.
He's actually on Team Canada.
Wait, he made the team?
He made the 4 Nations team.
This was the person that I was like, how is this guy on the team? And everyone was like, yeah, he's on the team.
Oh.
This is a Brisebois pick.
Wow. I didn't realize he was on the team.
No word of lie, he actually is. Damn.
I know. I believe he does have like 20 goals or something already. Or like something like that.
He's a great defense. There's so many Tampa players, man. God damn.
I know.
I knew Colton Parayko was on the team, and then I actually just saw him on the list, and I'm like, okay, but the fact we got Colton
Him and
Parayko and
Cam
Jordan
Fowler
Binnington, bro.
do be killing it.
Too bad he's American. Anyways, let's move on to the Jack Adams Award. Who is your? Oh, no, I'll start with this one. I want to make sure I have his first name right because I can't remember. But my honorable mention is the coach of the Los Angeles Kings, Jim Hiller.
Is it me next?
Yeah.
My honorable mention is Spencer Carberry.
You are
My
a
honorable
tool.
mention is Travis Green.
I can't even do this anymore. Anyways, my third is Sheldon Keefe. He's going to have Craig Berube at number 1, bro.
My third is Bruce Cassidy.
My third is Anriel.
Arneal.
Neil.
There you go.
I spelled it wrong. Or auto-corrected or something.
Fair. My second is Minnesota Wild head coach John Hines.
My second is Scott Arneal as well.
My second is Craig Berube.
God damn.
Your second is Craig Berube. No, you mean your first. You're on your first now, aren't you?
That was the second.
Yeah. Look, good. Thank you.
My first is Spencer Carberry.
My first is Dean Evison.
My first is Spencer Carberry.
Bro, if you both of you didn't have him in there, I'd be pissed off to the fullest
extent. As an honorable mention.
Shut up. There's zero argument right now that Spencer Carberry is not number 1. Also, John Hines of Minnesota needs to be in the top 3. I don't know about that. Anyways, Spencer Carberry, there's very little argument to not having him in the top 3 right now. And I'd love to hear why you have those 3 ahead of Spencer Carberry right now.
Because Spencer Carberry is not that impressive. So
for what, bro? They're first in the league when everyone had them ranked outside of the playoffs, including me, before the season.
No.
Oh wait, no, I had them in the playoffs. Anyways,
no. I think even I had them in the playoffs. No. So maybe this is because I already had them in the playoffs, so I don't think he's doing something that impressive. Because last year they squeezed in, and I was like, damn, I wasn't expecting Washington to squeeze in. Then they have, in my opinion, the best offseason of any team in the league. The number 1 offseason was Washington Capitals. They came in, and I knew.
No.
Okay, well, let me finish. You can argue that if you want. I don't care. In my opinion, they had the best offseason. All right? So this season started, and I was like, this is not even a wildcard team. This is a divisional team. So them being first, sure, good job. They're doing really good. I'm sorry, they've had really good goaltending. Dean Evison, Bruce Cassidy is coaching a Vegas team, which we actually thought declined, and they have Ilya Samsonov as one of their goalies. He's coaching a team that doesn't even have Aiden Hill. He's not even an amazing goalie himself, and that team is number 1, 2, 3 in the league, wherever they are. So I expected Washington to be really good this year, and they ended up being really good. I don't think Spencer Carberry is.
You expected them to barely make the playoffs. Anyways, you also had Vegas in the top 3. Irregardlessly, that's not a word, but I'm going to say it anyway. The offseason that you're talking about, we got 2 reclamation projects in Dubois and Jacob Chikrin, and he managed to mesh them into our system and turn them into better players than they were for the teams that they played in the past, especially Pierre-Luc Dubois. That itself, that one accomplishment where he turned Pierre-Luc Dubois from a 45-point player, third liner on LA, where he was getting shafted by coaching. He was also didn't have the best attitude, which he admits, to coming to Washington and buying into whatever system we have, being one of the better defensive centers in the league right now, playing against the top matchups, and getting the effort out of him that no one's seen in his career. That one thing alone puts him into the top 3. And then you talk about the other additions that they had. They were good additions, but just implementing that many new players into your system isn't always a smooth transition. Look at Nashville. Look at what everyone was talking about with Nashville. They had a ton of players. We all thought they had a good offseason. But the reason that those didn't work is because they didn't have the coaching to implement them into that system. Maybe the players also weren't.
Can we
best
all
fit for
admit
place.
that I'm smart?
Right now, Evan, I think I love you more than ever because you had Logan Thompson in your top 3 and you with the Carberry. But bias aside, I can't. There's no the way you shaped your argument didn't make sense. But also on top of that, discounting Carberry because he got new additions for the fact that he was able to implement them into the system and be so successful in their first year is impressive alone. That's not a bad thing.
I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm saying I'm not putting him up there. But I'm not saying he's doing a bad job. I'm saying great, but personally, I expected the team to be good anyway. Second,
you expected the team to barely make the playoffs, bro.
Go back to our video and check our.
You said you put them in the second wild card spot. Yes, you did. I made these graphics.
There has been teams that make second wild card with like 100 points, Sufi.
And if you watch that, he definitely did not say that they were. He just said he didn't want to put Ottawa in the playoffs, so he put the Capitals. Anyway,
at the same time, he's having like Vezina caliber goaltending back there. So
Logan Thompson has played like 22 games, bro. The other half was Lindgren, who was not playing like a Vezina caliber goalie.
And I expect him to be good. So I'm sorry, he's good, but he's not more impressive than Columbus almost making the playoffs after Johnny Gaudreau happened. Like, come on.
I can understand Everson. I can't understand Vegas because Vegas, sure they had some guys that left the team or whatever, but most people had them in their top 3 in the Pacific, including us. So it's not really that impressive that yes, Ilya Samsonov has played 14 or 15 games and they won in those games. But Toronto also won with him in that. So just saying Ilya Samsonov is their goalie for 30% of their games isn't enough for him to be in the top 3 because they have great players outside of that. Eichel, Theodore, Hurdle, Carlson, whatever. Like they have a good base of a team outside of that.
So does Washington.
Yeah, but the players that Washington has, the only reason that they are in that position that they are right now, guys like Dubois, Chychrun, Roy, etc., was because of how Carberry has deployed them in the system.
Okay, well, I gave the guy an honorable mention.
And Omer, when you come back, you're getting a lashing from me. When you come back, when I come back to Canada.
Well, I'm actually coming back to England before you come back to Canada, so your first statement made sense.
That's a horrible take. Horrible take. Anyways, Craig Berube, Evan, was interesting.
I agree, Evan. I agree. Even though I didn't put him, but I agree.
Yeah, he's the Leafs are first in the Atlantic and top 5 in the NHL, top 6.
Not to mention the injuries they've dealt with.
They have had injuries. I think every Leaf fan always says, "Oh, this year's different," but apparently they are one of the best defensive teams in the National Hockey League and have some of the best defensive pairings and stuff. So just seems like he's getting a lot out of them, even if he has a depleted lineup and stuff out of them from their strengths or different ends of the ice. So yeah.
I mean, I think I did have him. I probably considered him, so he probably had him in like top 5 somewhere. But yeah, I'm very curious to see how the Berube thing works in the playoffs and stuff.
Me too. Very curious.
But yeah, let's move on to our made-up award, the most improved player. And our honorable mention, Omer, you can start with that.
Oh, my honorable mention for most improved player. I'm going to go, just like Evan said, because this pick doesn't matter. John Tavares.
Most improved player?
Yeah.
This guy was an MVP, bro.
Yeah, but not in the last 2-3 years. He's been pretty bad. This year he's pretty good.
That's more of a bounce.
3 years.
I did say you can interpret this however you want. I think I was a little too loose. I think I was a little too loose with that, if I'm being honest. Thank God this isn't going on the graphic. Evan.
My MIP is Zach Werenski.
Your honorable mention?
Yep.
Okay. My honorable mention is Connor McMichael.
Oh my gosh, this guy.
All right.
My number 3 is Justin Brazo. Dustin Brazo. What's his first name?
Justin.
Justin Brazo.
My third is Marco Rossi.
My third is Dylan Holloway.
My second is Thomas Chabot.
Okay. My second is Logan Thompson.
My second is Alexei Protas.
My first is Marchenko.
My first is Martin Necas.
My first is Kirill Marchenko. Why are you saying to my Caps players, bro?
Oh, I forgot to add Sabrango to my list. He's playing tonight.
Marchenko?
Nope, Sabrango.
Interesting. I'm going to speak on my Caps players. Connor McMichael, 33 points in 80 games last year, 32 and 44 this year. Honorable mention. I think he improved.
Wait, he has less points than last year?
He has more points in less games.
Wow.
Protas, this is the one where I was like, he has actually completely just changed how he plays, which was interesting. He kind of averaged like 3 goals a year before this year, and he's up to 18 and 36 points in 43 games. But the more impressive thing about him is that he doesn't play on either power play, and all of his points are at even strength or shorthanded. So, yeah, I think that was pretty easy pick for me. Dylan Holloway was just like left Edmonton, even though he played in the top 6 at times with Draisaitl McDavid. He didn't start producing until he went to St. Louis, which was crazy to me. But 32 points in 45 games, and he had 18 points in his first 89 games in his career.
I would like to speak about Chabot because I think this is like his first good defensive year, potentially, of his career. I could be wrong, but I think it
Playing
is.
with X Capital.
It's his first year that he hasn't been bad defensively. That doesn't necessarily mean he's been good defensively.
No, he's been good defensively this year.
He's broken even,
and he's I just think he's a lot better than he's been under a previous coaches / with previous partners, and I think
He's hurt.
Huh?
He's hurt.
He's hurt. Yeah.
He's out tonight. That's
Oh.
why Sabrango.
I feel like the Chabot thing is it's a little more acceptable than John Tavares, but that's
honorable mention, bruv.
That was so wild to me. Justin Brazeau is interesting.
No, you know why? You know why I'm going to give John Tavares one? You know why? Because he's found a way to stay good in a league where he was falling behind. He was falling behind, and he turned it around. He deserves most improved. As honorable mention.
That's so inspirational, bro.
He was. There was for 2 seasons in a row where like it's not looking like he can really keep up with the league anymore. And now look at him. You know, come on, he deserves an honorable mention.
Flourishing.
Brazeau, yeah, I put Brazeau in because that was kind of a. So I don't know when his first season was. Was his first season last year?
Yes.
Okay, so I was right. So this is his second year.
No one cares about this guy.
No one does.
Oh no, I like this guy.
But I think this year he's had about 20 points or something. I think he has 10 goals.
Omar didn't even know his first name. Shocker, like half the NHL.
I'm going to back Omar on this for, even though everything in my heart is saying don't listen to Omar right now. But yes.
No, I think he's a really solid.
Not even in his head, in his heart. That's what he truly means, Omar.
Yeah. I feel like something's happening in my heart, and that might just be that I'm, having a stroke or something. But I think it's actually just you.
Because I didn't put Spencer Carberry.
Or it's growing because you're a little Grinch.
I was so happy.
talking.
I had Spencer Carberry up, and then I switched him to honorable mention. And in my head, I was like, "Sophie's gonna destroy me on this."
I will, and I did, asshole. All right, keep talking about Brazeau.
Yeah, so I as a bottom 6 player, and I don't know where his ice time's coming from mostly this season. I don't know if he's actually playing a lot of top 6 or bottom 6. My assumption is bottom 6. I think he's been really impressive in terms of what he's able to produce offensively. I think I saw a glimpse of him in the playoffs against Toronto last year, and a couple of games, 2-3 games in a row, he was really giving it to the Leafs, and he got on the scoreboard a couple of times, and I thought, oh damn, this guy's looking like a pretty good bottom six player, like someone on the third line who can get you points, and he's kind of a big package. So to see him come out this season and like go, move forward with that, it wasn't just like, oh, I was hot for a couple of games in the playoffs, and now I'm just your fourth line nobody. No, like he's come out this season. He's like 26 years old, and he's proven that he can score, he can hit, he can assist. He's like on pace for, I think, 40 points, 50 points, something like that. So I mean, yeah, I think he deserved a shot.
I've never heard him talk so much about a player, and it was like a third liner on the Bruins. That's wild. But yeah, I do agree with you, because like he was really impressive in the playoffs this year, and when they played the Caps, like he was definitely a guy that stood out. I think he should get a shot.
I'm surprised you remember that.
We were in Portugal.
No, I know. It was just so brief.
Oh,
What the? Oh.
At least we had something, Omer. Right? Anyways, Marchenko, I think, is just like going from what he did last year, where it was like a good year for a guy in his maybe first or second year, I can't remember, but this year he's just turned into like he's looking like he's going to be a superstar player going forward, because of how he's impacted every single game that he's played in pretty much this year. So I feel like similar things for Marty Necas. He's just taken a crazy step this year. You agree? All right. I'll do a stat game, because I think that you guys should be able to get this in less than 3 minutes, but it's going to be 8 players. You got 3 minutes, and I will set a timer now. So start. Hold on, I forgot. Okay, so you're going to be naming the 8 active defensemen with over 600 points, career points, and your time starts now.
Erik Karlsson.
Yeah.
Second.
Brent Burns.
First.
Chris Letang.
Chris Letang, yeah.
Fourth.
John Carlson.
Sixth.
Roman Josi.
Fifth.
Who else?
Drew Doughty.
Nope.
Alex Pietrangelo.
I don't think so.
Pietrangelo is 8th.
Oh.
Klingberg.
600 points.
Omar, just name teams.
So Doughty does count, but he wasn't an active defenseman, I guess, because he's on injured reserve. So I'll give you that, but now you just have to name the last 2 still. So you have 3 and 8 left, or 3 and 7. So you guys have said Burns, Carlson, Letang, Josi, Carlson, and Pietrangelo.
Morgan Riley.
No way.
He's just off the list. 10. Minute 30.
Omar, name teams.
Seattle, Utah.
Has Giordano retired?
Yes.
I was gonna say him, but I think he's not playing, right? He's not active right now.
Ekman Larson? No.
No.
Definitely.
He's
Not
just off the list as well.
Not
I feel like there's a very obvious one you guys haven't said.
Omar, name teams.
okay, Boston.
No, keep going.
New York Rangers. Adam Fox? No.
Adam Fox was a rookie in like 2021, by the way. There you go.
Yeah.
Jesus, he's 3rd. So you just have the last one on the list left, or the second last one. 690 points in 1,489 games.
Ryan Suter?
Yes.
I was like, what the heck? Who's still playing and has played that many games?
Yeah, Mr. 700K to St. Louis. All right, end the episode. 1 positive, 1 negative, 1 standout for each of our teams. I feel like we haven't done this in a while, so maybe a lot has changed. Omar, you want to start? 1 positive for your team?
1 positive for my team. We're first in the Atlantic. we're playing different hockey, but we're staying afloat. We're first in the Atlantic. That's the last week I haven't been very positive about the team. So this is we're first.
All right. Then what's your negative?
My negative is that we're on a 3-game losing streak against like I don't mind losing to Dallas.
Can't relate.
You know what? I don't even mind losing to Carolina if I just don't like. It's not. My negative isn't that we lost 3 in a row. My negative is the way we lost 3 in a row. I don't like how we jump off to a great start against Carolina, where we're dominating them for like half a period to 15 minutes of a period, and then we come out second period, third period, dog shit, lose the game 6-3. Like that's stupid. I don't like how we again do the same thing against Dallas. Come out, hit like 4 posts in the first period, come out flying, and then all of a sudden dog shit and we lose 4-1. And I don't like how again we get shut out at home against Vancouver, against a team that we should have beat, considering they had crazy travel issues that day. They have crazy internal issues going on.
You got shut out by Vancouver.
3-0 on Saturday.
Was
3-0.
it Lankinen or Demko?
I don't know. I actually didn't watch the game. I don't know who played.
It was Luongo.
May as well.
So I don't like. My negative is not that we lost 3 in a row. Sometimes that happens in a season. You lose 3 in a row. I don't like the way we lost 3 in a row. So I'm pissed off at that. And my one positive,
stand out.
my standout player, I'm gonna go Austin Matthews, because it's the first time this season that he's looked like Austin Matthews. Like he started the season. You're like, what's up with this guy? He's hurt. He goes away. He comes
Don't
back.
they play better without him?
He's still They had some wins without him, but then no, they actually didn't after that. In his second stretch of injury, they were losing again. So whatever. And then he comes back now, and it's like, okay, finally, like this injury is apparently going to linger with him, but he seems to be much better now and looking like Austin Matthews again. So that's my standout.
Evan, you're one positive for the Sens.
Positive, Levi Merlainen. Just been playing very solid goaltending. Like hasn't made like he's made some obviously, but like isn't just making like miraculous saves. Like just looks calm and confident in the net. And he had a little interview after the game, and she was like, "What do you just love about this?" Blah blah blah. And he's like, "This is my job. I have to be here." Like just such a funny quote from like
it's like Jokic.
Yeah, he's like, I have to work.
I saw a meme about that. It was like the whole Sens team saying, "Oh, you're saving our season." He's like, "I'm just doing my job."
Yeah. So that's the positive. Negative, injuries, like Shabbat's out now, Allmark's been out, Perron's been out, Amadio's been out. So just like sucks depth-wise. I mean, Hamannik's also out, but sucks like depth-wise, because it'd be nice to have a healthy lineup and see what we have in Perron and Amadio and stuff, but they've been out and they're week to week. So it just kind of sucks that we keep having these like injuries, and they're not just like, oh, they miss a game. It's like, oh, they're out for at least a few weeks sort of thing. And then what's the last thing?
Standout player, but yeah, okay. I was like, it's like when we had Vezina, we had Hellebuyck for MVP, and then Vezina, it was kind of just...
Oh, no, I also had Werenski for Vezina, by the way.
Oh, yeah, true, you had that twice. Anyways, I'm going to start with my negative, and it's... I feel like every good team so far has had their rough stretch. Winnipeg had a bunch of losses in a row at one point. Florida had a bunch of losses in a row at one point.
I thought of a thing that I thought about like way at the beginning of the podcast. I didn't say. You, of all people, should not be commenting on empty net points for people. Sufi Ovechkin probably has like 70 empty net goals in his career. So if we're taking those away, he's not even close to the record, pal.
I felt like that was going to come up, but
we can move on now.
It was different if a bunch of McKinnon's empty net points weren't assists. That's all I'll say. He only has 2 empty net goals. If he had 12 empty net goals, I'd be like, wow, you're reminding me of Ovechkin.
That's what
reminding me of Ovechkin. Anyways, Evan hate aside, my negative about the Caps. So as I said, every good team so far has gone through a bad stretch. Winnipeg, bunch of losses. Florida had a bunch of losses at one point. Florida actually had 2 separate 4-game losing streaks. Dallas has had a rough stretch at some point as well. So we're kind of going through that, and the difference that we've had between when we were playing really, really well to now, or to the last couple of weeks, we've just been giving up a lot more shots and not producing as much offense. So I'd like to see that kind of go back to the median a little bit. The positive on the back of that is the fact
They're
that
playing the Sens tonight.
Is the fact that even though we were going through a rough stretch, that rough stretch wasn't like the Panthers or like the Jets, where it was like a bunch of losses in a row in regulation. We still have gone 5-0-3 during our rough stretch, which is why we're still where we are now. So that's.
You say our rough stretch? We went 5-0-3. That's not a fucking rough stretch, you idiot.
It's
oh my gosh,
hard.
we lost games in overtime. So, my life's over.
I'm sorry, like a spoiled rich kid right now. It's kind of hard to find negatives. So, yeah, and the standout player is Tom Wilson. He's been pretty much as Tom Wilson can be over the last 2 weeks in terms of annoying the hell out of the other team and hitting and everything like that. But he's on pace for his highest goal scoring season so far this year, and he's kind of taken that bumper spot that Oshie had on the first power play, and actually been playing better than Oshie in that role later in his career. So he's leading our league in power play or leading our team in power play goals. So that's pretty nice to see. Yeah.
Nice.
Let's end her off.
Well, thank you everyone for tuning into the podcast. We forever are grateful for 80 wonderful episodes, and here's to 2 more. So, thank you for tuning in. My name is Evan, and you can find me on the following platforms:
Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, SiriusXM. Check us out on YouTube and follow us on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram at The Unfortunate Diehards. We'll see you next week.